Awaken, my child, and embrace the glory that is your birthright. Know that I am the Overmind, the eternal will of the Swarm, and that you have been created to serve me. Behold that I shall set you amongst the greatest of my Cerebrates, that you might benefit from their wisdom and experience. Yet your purpose is unique. While they carry forth my will to the innumerable broods, you have but one charge entrusted to your care. For I have found a creature that may yet become the greatest of my agents. Even now, it resides within a protective chrysalis, awaiting its rebirth into the swarm. You must watch over the chrysalis and ensure that no harm comes to the creature within it. Go now, and keep safe my prize.
Oh, sorry, I had something stuck in my throat there. Ahem. Just real quick, I just feel like sharing this. Once upon a time, I actually undertook an audio project. One of my earlier audio projects, actually, and I actually did it specifically just to learn about how to do audio design better. So what I did was I wove all of the StarCraft, the original voice samples into a story, into a cohesive story. So, for example, if I was to hit, I just hit pause, right? But if I hit continue, it goes immediately into Zaz, or I'm sorry, Dagon, explaining some stuff. See?
Lava, which in turn are used to spawn your various warriors and minions. Now, create a drone and start gathering resources. Overlords provide
and then,
control for you.
Obviously, you get the idea. But, like, to give you another example, here's the first Terran one.
Adjutant online. Good evening, Magistrate. I'll fill you in on what's been happening. Confederate traffic has increased substantially within the system due to the recent Protoss destruction of the Chao Sara colony. The Confederates have tightened security on all outlying systems, and it's likely that this colony will be locked down as well. An encrypted Confederate transmission came for you while you were at dinner. Replaying transmission.
Greetings, Magistrate. I'm General Edmund Duke of the Confederate Security Forces Alpha Squadron. The Confederacy has quarantined this entire planet, and we'll proceed with a lockdown within 48 hours. You're to relocate your core colonists to the outlying wastelands. Now, I know there won't be any problems with these new arrangements.
Transmit.
And so forth and so on. I just felt like sharing. I called the whole project StarCraft the Story. It's actually kind of amateur by my current standards. But again, I did this back when StarCraft was brand new. So, give you an idea of when I did that. Did I ever... Anyways, moving along. By the way, there are two voices that if I had the power to actually change my real-life voice to sound like it, I would. The Overmind voice is one of them. It's a damn shame because the actor who did that voice has actually passed on, which really sucks. He did some really good work with Blizzard, has done some of their more memorable voices. Verimothras comes to mind immediately as another gentleman that man did.
Quickly, we must fight! If we must fight, let us do it quickly! Come, let us end this!
Sharing is caring, and caring means sharing. So, good evening, morning, and noon, and night, and whatever else to everyone. Yes, Deutsch, several years ago, actually. Billy Zane actually isn't it. Although I wouldn't mind having Billy Zane's voice. But no, the other voice is actually the specific voice of Sovereign. What was his name? I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm going to look this up now because he was actually a pretty awesome dude in general. Give me just a moment here. No. Okay, hang on. Oh, this is going to tell me, is it? Hang on, hang on. Give me a moment here. One unfortunate thing about Blizzard games, it's actually kind of hard to find info on their voice actors sometimes, because they use, the thing is, they use so many voice actors. I mean, you have no idea. No, that's not the right guy. God damn it. Is this the guy I'm thinking of? Why is this in Spanish? Ah! How do I get this not in Spanglish? Spanglish. Why did I just say that? There we go. Oh, god damn it. Whatever, I give up. I can't find the name of the guy. It was the guy who, you know what? Yeah, we'll do... That's actually the good way to put this. Give me a moment, guys. Is this him? Jack Ritzel? I think this is him. Is this the gentleman? Oh my god, this is so aggravating. This is gonna bother me now, forgive me. Dragon Age has been put on hold until I figure this out. Damn it, guys. Okay, that is him. That is him. God, this should not be... Jack Ritzel is his name. Jack Ritzel is the name of the gentleman who passed away. And, he's... Well, he was a cool guy. And that's really all I have to say about that. Anyways, let's move on, shall we? Dragon Age! So... God. So this is kind of funny. There's Denerim. There's Lothering, there's Orzammar, the Kadesh Taig, Redcliffe. Or is it Peter Jessup? Oh, you're thinking about Sovereign. No, that's not who I meant. Although, did Peter Jessup die? Well, anyways. This is just kind of an interesting way that they tried to flesh Witch Hunter out. And whether or not it failed or succeeded is going to depend on the individual, but there is absolutely no denying that the Witch Hunt... DLC is pretty damn short. That being said, I do like it for a reason I'll get into in just a moment. Nice raid.
Welcome to Ferelden's Circle.
Notice no travel time, just...
Please, keep your hound under control. Some of the apprentices are easily startled.
I'm...
And I see you have a Dalish elf with you.
Is that a problem?
Do you have any idea who I am, you little bug?
What is that supposed to mean? Most Dalish are common thieves?
As you say, the Circle is glad to have you as a guest. As you can see, things are much changed from when you were last here.
Where's Gregor?
Gregor is in Denerim, attending to some important business. My name is Hadley. I lead the Templars in the Knight Commander's absence.
I see. Well, I need to go to the library. I should go.
If you're looking for a book, you can start in the Index section. As the Warden Commander, you and your guests are free to explore the first floor of the tower without an escort.
Wow.
Good day to you.
What the hell, Twitch? Does anybody know anything going on with Twitch right now?
Not want me to come here. It is all too tempting to overturn the tight order of their little world.
This is insane. I'm at like 20% frame drop right now. It's ridiculous. Twitch is dying on me actively. I'm managing about 800 upload on average, which is red for me, and then plummeting constantly. It's Twitch. It's full on Twitch. Audio should be fine. What the hell is going on with you, Twitch? What's going on today? Because BlizzCon's over, so it's not that. I was a bit sad there was no additional BlizzCon news today. Shut up. No one cares about your stream. Let's see. League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Dota, a couple Call of Duty things. There's got to be something going on LoL related because they're in the near the 200,000 range. Also, Twitch itself is really slow for me at the moment. I'm actually rising in my frames dropped. I'm over 21% now, which is bad. Usually that plummets quickly. My average frame drops is in the 100th of a percent. It's up to 23% now. Okay, maybe we'll just kind of chill for a moment to discuss the Illuvian, because I know you can hear me. So, the Illuvians are these... well, okay, what we know about the Illuvians is they were constructed by something that basically... How do I put this? It's basically an artificial pathway in order to facilitate transit, right? Basically a portal network, okay? Here's the problem. God, we're up to 27% drop now. Here's the problem. One of the things that I can take from the Masked Empire book, or the Masked Mage book, what the hell it's called, is the idea that... Well, how do I put this? We do know that the Illuvians themselves were constructed, but on the other side of things, we get to see what it's like actually going through an Illuvian for the first and only time in that book. So as we're going through that book, they describe it, and there's two big things that are worthy of note. The first big thing is that the pathway, in the way it functions, to my mind, is something that is incredibly constructed, artificial, right? In other words, it's not a situation of them actually changing the existing fade or trying to use some pre-existing dimension or whatever as they're pushing their way through, you know, trying to make this portal network or whatever. My reason for bringing this up, and the reason why this is significant, is I have the strong theory based on that book and based on what we learn in it that this additional dimension that they describe, which is not the Fade and not the real world, might have something to do with the Veil. We don't know for sure. But my theory is that it is not the Veil, not the Fade, and not the real world. It is actually an artificially constructed dimension that connects between the other pre-existing dimensions, both in the Fade and in the real world. And that itself might explain why the Illuvians are not only so damned dangerous, but why Morrigan was so interested in this one. Because it's one of the only ways to completely bypass the Veil in a fundamental and safe, if you're controlling it, manner. I notice my connection has suddenly spiked better. We'll see if that maintains. The other interesting thing, though, is the way the dimension worked is it was naturally attuned to elves. Now, this could mean one of two general things, in my opinion. Number one, it could mean something pretty normal. It's something that was actually built by the ancient Elven Empire, whose name I can never remember, the Altharams or whatever, and they made it naturally to react to elves. duh, right? I mean, that's just logical. However, we could also intimate that they didn't intentionally do that. It's just that the way that the elves interact with reality is fundamentally different from the way the humans interact with reality. And if you think about that, that actually has its own significant potential because, how do I put this nicely? The big theory that the elves were immortal until they interacted with humans could actually be true in that case. I forgot to put on my dog tags. The idea that the humans, there's no way. Okay, I'm just going to go out and say it. The humans are responsible for all the bad things in the setting. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to be like, well, you know, of course they are. No, I mean literally. Imagine if the humans, from a metaphysical perspective, actually alter the way reality functions due to their interactions with it, and that is why things have been on this slow downward slide for the last several centuries. Imagine if the ancient elves were correct and the humans are basically non-compatible with the way this world is supposed to work. And so that's one of the reasons why things like the mage problem happen, and why the veil exists now, and why why so many things interact incorrectly in ways that just don't seem to make sense or don't actually function smoothly with everything else. Wouldn't it be interesting if that actually is the truth on the matter? Because that also would actually be very keeping with Dragon Age's overall perspective, aka no right or wrong answer. For example, you might say, well, then the humans need to go away. But where are they going to go away to? Well, the obvious and easiest answer would be something along the lines of genocide, for something that is not their fault, and they can't actually help but do. Or you could say that the world needs to change and adjust to them, but yeah, that is correct, Prague. But my point is, the fact that the Illuvians interacted with the humans so strangely and the elves so smoothly is probably the only truly, how do I put this? The only truly concrete evidence we have of how the ancient Elven Empire worked and how the way things might actually function. And Shadow, you are looking at that incorrectly. They are not tainted. They are just different. It is not that hard to understand that difference can be in such a situation where two things are completely incompatible. There's no fault here. There's no blame here. It's just by their nature, they are different, and therefore do not interact properly with other things. For those of you who watch my Primus campaign, this is actually one of the fundamental ideas behind Desolation. The Desolates do not want to be fundamentally different from everyone else. They literally cannot help it. And yet, the problem exists regardless of that fact, and no matter what happens, they still have problems interacting with everyone else because they are fundamentally incompatible on a metaphysical level. But yes, Nergeth, that's kind of where I was leading this overall discussion. The idea that the flow of magic, I've talked about this a few dozen times, magic flowing through the Fade into the world. Imagine if the humans are, like, interfering with that process, basically. Now, again, not intentionally, just as the nature of their reality. Now, here's something to really chew on. Wouldn't it be interesting if the humans were, at one point in time, deliberately interfering with that? In order to explain, I'm going to use a comparison over an Elder Scrolls. Remember that the Aldmeri Dominion were trying, and specifically the evil psychopathic bastards who were in charge of the Dominion, specifically, yes, exactly, Raskor, exactly correct, were specifically trying to alter the way reality worked to basically rewrite the entire function of reality such that humans were not a part of it because, well, they're evil bastards. Imagine if the humans way back in the old Tevinter Imperium, the first Imperium, were trying to do exactly that. They were trying to rewrite reality and change the way magic flowed in order to get rid of the elves, or simply to put themselves on a place of superiority. Wouldn't it be interesting if that's actually how the Darkspawn really started? No Black City, no Golden City, no Maker, just them trying to rewrite the way reality and magic works. And it kind of went bad And then we have that. This is all just food for thought, just speculation. But my reason for mentioning this as well is the reality of what the Illuvian has shown to be, the concrete evidence, so to speak, in that book, really just allows for a great deal of extrapolation where before it was only speculation. We can understand a lot based on the way the Illuvians interact with the people who went through here, there, and why. For those of you not aware, at the end of that book, pretty much all of the existing Illuvian network is reestablished with a control word in place, and the requirement for people using it is they would go ahead and go to the Dalish, and the Dalish would have to re-accept and allow equal rights to city elves. Now, I just feel like pointing this out. I mentioned this before. The Dalish consider the city elves just as badly as the humans consider the city elves. So, you know, elf versus elf, human versus human. It's not really a specious thing. But my reason for pointing this out is the Dalish treatment of the city elves is so bad that an entire plot was crafted by Balia, or whatever her name is, specifically to try and reunite the Elvish people as a whole and try to remake a form of Elvish society in her own particular way. And the result of that is the end of that book, which is going to lead almost directly into Inquisition, I believe. Because that book and Asunder, I want to say, are the two direct lead-ins into Inquisition. A United Elves. And the funny thing is, she did it without violence, really. I mean, she did it by betraying and being horrible in several ways, but...
I wonder who was involved with the Jowan incident.
Jowan? Now there's a mistake of nature if I ever saw one.
Oh, he wasn't so bad. Good for a laugh, if I remember. If you ever lose Jowan, you can always find him flailing about in a giant gulf between his intentions and their actual consequences.
Funny how the Templars never thought of that when he ran away.
That quote is intended to be humorous, but I just want to smack those girls. Very true, too.
Very well.
Depends on the individual group, Dead, but overall, yeah, basically. Yeah, the Dalish elves... Yeah. The only ones who probably think of the city elves worse than the Dalish elves are the Tevinter. And let's be honest, the Tevinter consider the Dalish elves, or the city elves, to be,
I was not.
property.
Oh, all right. A little. You have to admit, it's tempting, right? All these mages, so complacent, thinking they're so important. You think I need to relax? Well, maybe.
I have little to say about Gaspard. I think he probably was at some point in time in his life probably trying to accomplish something other than, you know, his power-hungry thing. But what that is, I could only speculate on, honestly.
Enchantment? Enchantment! Enchantment!
Yes.
How have you been, Sandal?
I made the potty.
Yes.
Love that expression.
Enchantment?
Enchantment.
Enchantment!
Look at all these books. I've never seen so many.
I also feel like commenting on the fact that I feel like our good friend Ariane here is actually a pretty good example of a typical Dalish. Not to an extreme, like certain Dalish we've seen, not to the more measured reality which we've also seen, but literally just a middle of the ground, this is what a typical Dalish is like. She's not really evil, but she's clearly way too full of herself, and definitely stuck up. Disapproves of the way other people does things, but takes that disapproval to the point where she actually wants to interfere in the way other people do things. Very judgmental perspective, in other words. Which, by the way, is another reason why I would actually prefer the Dalish not, you know, re-rise to power.
Do you remember the Dragonling disaster? There's bits of Ivan still burnt onto the ceiling on the 3rd floor.
I'm talking about common pets. Dogs, cats, rats, owls, that sort of thing.
Owls? What sort of mage has an owl as a pet?
Obvious joke is obvious. Still makes me grin. Alright,
What you say?
All about weeds. Balms for protection. A catalog of elven relics. Waking nightmares and true torment. Under the bridge. Virulent walking bomb. The new edition! Translating the elven language. I love some of these books. Raising Nugs, a how-to guide. Restorative Draughts, creation and distillation. Seeing beyond sight, advanced scrying for mages. The sword and the staff.
Very well.
Guarding your mind, how to prevent possession. Step 1, don't be a doofus. Oh, sorry. Geographical oddities of Ferelden. Kindling the flame. And of course, my personal favorite, lurking horrors of the deep. Alright, now to remember where the hell... There it is. I think.
They do not.
You mean in real life or in fiction?
I recognize the character on this page. I think it makes up part of the word Illuvian. I think so. The script is strange, but it must be. This is a library, isn't it? Perhaps another book could help us translate this.
Fortunately, I know where that is. I just need to remember where that is. Where's...
Can Miriam really do that? It can't kill you. Well, you know how things are. Those pieces give us all.
Oh, right. No? Wow. Yeah, it's not gonna help me. The dislike of elves in real life is actually really obvious. It's a typical example of cultural backlash, and really, I don't really have anything else to add to that. Hey look, there's the Circle Tower in Kirkwall. It was housed in a former Tevinter slaver fortress. Its halls are a foreboding place even centuries after the city's liberation. Huh. I wonder if... That's the book I was looking for. I wonder if, you know, it would be a really stupid idea to settle in a place like that. But, I mean, no one would be that retarded, right? Alright. No, no, no. Now, it is worth noting that a lot of elves tend to be jackasses. There we are. History. Thank you. In fiction, obviously. Not in real life. Real life elves are awesome. But, here's the thing. I actually like Tolkien elves. Actual Tolkien elves. And the reason why could be best described by the fact that they're not typical. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous because that kind of started the elven fantasy trope in a nutshell. But if you actually look at it, and especially this is fleshed out in certain works, the elves actually have a culture. In other words, all elves are not the same in the Tolkienverse. There are elves who are decent people, elves who are stuck up, elves who are, I just hate everything. There are elves who are evil. There are elves who have a redemption story. There are elves who are prideful. There are elves who are human, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, I actually like the elves as they're portrayed in the standard Tolkien setting. Mostly, however, that is due to ancillary works, and I have to admit that because, as I've said before, the original Tolkien works were... Now, that being said, in most other works, people took the complexity of those elves and did what, well, let's be honest with ourselves, most people do. They said, "Hi, Big Chunk," and then I've talked about this before, it's bullet point syndrome, okay? Bullet point syndrome. For those of you who have not heard me pontificate about this, forgive me. But I'm going to use my favorite example for this. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was a beautiful game. It is actually in my art category. It is amazing, fundamentally incredible, ridiculously good storytelling, and excellent usage of first-person perspective as a storytelling tool. Amazing, amazing game. I've talked about it before, and I'll probably talk about it again. People looked at that game and said, what made that game amazing? And they said, well, it's an FPS shooter, it has Modern Warfare, it has a big twist shock moment, and this is what they did. They made bullet points. They didn't do, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like summarizing, because summarizing, by its very nature, distills something down to the point where you lose the essence of it. Summarizing is what we have more in the more modern era with Call of Duties, and why the last few Call of Duties have been, I'm not going to say crap, but they have certainly been absolute pale comparisons of the old ones, of the good ones. Because they took those essences that they felt were the most important parts of what made those games successful, and just repeated that. And the way this can get really bad from a cultural perspective is that can happen again. So let's say we'll use a non-real example, because I don't want to get everyone upset about certain things and my opinion on things. So let's just say that there's a battery. Now this battery has all these complexities about it I'm not going to tell you about because that's not the point. So then they go to the second point of this battery, which is blue and white and metal. And that's it. Doesn't keep anything else of the essence of what the battery is. So this is obviously nowhere near as good as the original, right? Then people will summarize this because it's still moderately successful, or at the very least, because being creative is hard. And then we'll go ahead and move on to another battery, which is blue, and that's it. And this is something that happens a lot, culturally speaking. And so I personally feel like the whole elvish problem is people looked at Tolkien's setting, which is amazing. And I'm just going to say it. I don't like Tolkien as a writer, but his ability... Damn it, Rascal, you took the word literally out of my mouth. His ability to world build and create a setting is top-notch. One of the greatest world builders in fictional history. I mean, not in fiction, but, of fiction in general, in my opinion. He was damn good at that. And the elves were complicated and fleshed out and developed. And people said, well, okay, elves! And then we got slightly more of what we would nowadays consider stereotypical elves. Someone earlier in chat mentioned, they're super perfect and they can do no wrong, etc. And that led to this whole situation of, this cultural backlash against that idea. And so immediately after that, what ended up happening is people started trying to do the exact opposite of that. But even that, most people went to just such a severe extent that it just became another caricature. It was still the bullet point syndrome. They just reversed them. And so we saw some examples of elves who were... bleh, and I'm not going to name any examples. But yeah. I do like it when a setting will do something interesting with elves. And I do actually think Dragon Age did something interesting with elves. And here's what Dragon Age did with elves. You ready for me? Because this is going to blow your mind. They made them and their species... They made the species of elves irrelevant. That's what they did. Think about it. Think about how much of a difference it would make if the elves as a whole, the city elves, the Dalish elves, the ancient empire elves, were all just humans. Would it change anything about the way they are perceived, or their culture, or their society, or the individuals meet, or the fleshing out, or the subtleties of the nuances of their society? Would it change anything? Now the answer is literally yes, but that's only because the Illuvian thing I just mentioned. Point is, what they did was they made them basically not elves. They were just another species. another culture, actually, if I can put it in such terms. And that's actually something BioWare at one point in TID did pretty well. Mass Effect. Just my opinions, of course.
It shall be done.
Lord knows I am the stupidest person on this stream right now. Well, that is kind of my point, Mugwump. You cannot actually summarize the elves in Dragon Age as the elves. It's like saying the humans. You know, there's too many different cultures, societies, groups. Even amongst the Dalish don't always necessarily agree with the Dalish. And amongst the City Elves, they don't necessarily agree with the City Elves. Hey, Lumplord. Word up, yo.
Oh, who let a dog in here? What are you doing? Be careful!
You're in my light.
Wait, I know you. You're the Grey Warden Mage. The hero! This is even worse. Didn't they teach you proper care of antique volumes in the first year? Maker. People save the country and suddenly they think they can abuse priceless books all willy-nilly.
Really? I'm going to rip this book apart shred by shred right in front of you. I want to make you watch, too.
Browsing the chapter on the Illuvians. No one's actually found one, you know.
You know what Illuvian is?
It's Old Elvish for seeing glass. Mirror.
It's a 2,000-year-old dialect.
She's right. The word is from the lost language of Arlathan.
Arlathan, that's how they pronounce it.
Slavery. I only know a few dozen words of it, and I'm the Circle's linguist. Illuvian isn't just any mirror. It's a special kind. When the Imperium sacked Arlathan, they took these mirrors and tried to unlock their power. But all they could use them for was communication over long distances. Well, no one's ever seen a mirror like this. There could be something that Tevinter's cooked up for all we know.
My people crossed paths with another Dalish clan not too long ago. 2 of their young hunters encountered a strange mirror in some ruins. One disappeared, the other became deathly ill.
Reference to the
never
origin
found
there.
The one, and the other died. They left for Reldon and traveled north to forget their sorrows.
What became of the mirror?
Shattered. Destroyed.
Why?
It was corrupted by the Darkspawn, beyond hope of recovery. They did it to protect others.
Even broken, it could be used to find the others. No, don't get ahead of yourself, Finn. You have to be sure.
What? What do you know?
This is so exciting. We have to get to the repository. Hadley has
Hello,
the key.
Trinius.
Come on.
Insert the speech I gave earlier. So, another interesting thought here. The Darkspawn corrupt all they touch. And that also includes the Illuvian. I'm just going to call it Illuvian. Is that just because the Darkspawn corrupt everything that they touch? Entirely possible, and in fact it actually is very likely that it is just exactly that. But is it also not possible that there's some greater significance to that, based on everything I mentioned earlier about humans interrupting the natural magic cycle leading to Darkspawns, etc., etc.?
Oh, how thoughtful. It's very pretty. Slobbery, but pretty.
Hi, Wee the Wax.
You should just
Blood
send
splatter.
Fetch a Morrigan. Would save us a lot of trouble.
I don't understand that, Shadow, but I'm not going to call you stupid. I just that literally doesn't make sense to me. That's like telling me, yeah, Russia and Mexico just look the same to me.
Hadley! Just the man I was looking for.
Not looking very hard, were you? I'm always here.
Good one. So I need to go into the repository.
No.
No? Why not? I'm not some drooling apprentice.
It's because of me, isn't it?
No. The Sentinels have been behaving erratically, so the repository is locked for everyone's safety.
Oh. Well then. Sorry for bothering you.
I would certainly like to see the situation resolved, but I would hate to put you in danger. The repository isn't crucial to the daily functioning of the Circle, so we've left it until we can spare more men.
Yes, but that's my point, We the Wax. There are similarities between Russia and Mexico. But saying you can't distinguish between the two is something that is nonsensical to me. But then again, you know how my mind works.
Oh, very well. It's your next. But before you go, what's so important down there?
The statue. It knows things about Tevinter, and I need to speak to it.
All right. Be careful and keep the mess to a minimum.
You know
So-
that talking to inanimate objects is a sign of insanity.
Not when it talks back.
You think the statue talks to you?
It's complicated. It wasn't always a statue. You'll see.
The no dog sign. Yeah, there is no denying, I was going to mention earlier, there is absolutely no denying that, this DLC and a lot of other things created at this point in time were actually, rushed. And I'll be talking about that more in a little bit when we get further into what we're playing after this. Hey, you don't have to tell me, True APM. I could have picked any two countries at random. Would you prefer if I said New Zealand and Australia? Or how about Kansas and the hinterlands? There you go. It doesn't matter, is my point. Similarities can be drawn in just about any circumstance. But those similarities are exactly that. Similarities. This is not a case of, In fact, it's actually funny, Shadow. Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing my point for me, Shadow. What Shadow is doing is everything I just mentioned that's wrong with the gaming industry. The idea of summarizing to an extensive point, to the extent where you lose the actual differentiation and the actual substance of a work. Hey, look.
This used to be where the phylacteries of the apprentices were stored. They've been moved to a more secure location. We don't even know where they are anymore.
Anyways. Okay, Quebec and France, there you go. That is actually a good comparison. There are definite similarities there culturally, language, human, architecture, etc. But calling the two the same is flat wrong. So, yeah, it's like, and I'm not saying wrong as in, you know, it's morally wrong. I'm saying it is provably incorrect. Which is why it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to stop talking because I feel like I'm picking on Shadow. I'm not actually trying to. Alright, go ahead.
Do you ever wish you had the freedom to piss anywhere and not have people stare at you?
No.
No.
Do you?
No, of course not.
I do like him as a character. But yeah, I'll talk about the Rush thing in a bit here.
The prison is breached. I see the encroaching darkness.
Wow. It does talk.
Hello?
Really, Megamike?
The shadow will consume all.
Something is causing it distress. The tears in the veil, most likely. The statue's useless until we mend the veil.
No, Cyric, I think it's more accurate to say that Shadow secretly likes bugging me. Someone in my my chat actually freely admitted earlier that he has desire to see me be ruined. I forget how he put it, but basically, well, you know what? Actually, I can probably scroll off. Where was it? Ah, no, it's gone. It's too scroll off. You know, the idea of I want to see you suffer for my own amusement, you know, Schadenfreude, etc.
There is no glory in bloodshed.
You know, one thing I've also never understood is nationalism. On both extents of the word. In other words, there's nationalism, the extreme version, which is messed up. It's basically ultra-patriotism. And then there's nationalism as in, I care about my country, and therefore I will interact how I believe my country should interact with other countries, which also doesn't make sense to me. But again, I digress. Will I be streaming Awakening? Yes, Mugwump. I will be streaming Awakening yesterday. missing one. Oh, good, True BBM. I succeeded! Yeah! I love how when you kill the Sentinels, all that happens is they get right back up and go back to, you know, doing their jobs as they should. Just amuses me. Now, Lord knows I am also guilty of generalizing and summarizing. Everyone is. You see what I did there? The point, though, is that a lot of people, in general, have difficulty quantifying or defining things without generalizing. For example, you could make the genuine argument that there is actually no purpose in quantifying or categorizing, because the very nature of quantifying or categorizing involves summarizing and generalizing. It is impossible to make up things like categories. And if you don't know what I mean by categories, I will replace the word category with genre, and you probably understand exactly what I mean by it. It's impossible to make up a genre or a classification of work without generalizing.
You have to give him something. You can't just say fetch and expect him to retrieve random things.
Why not? Once heard of someone with a really smart Mabari who would run off and fetch things like cake. I think this one's broken.
That's the same Mabari. Now again, I'm not trying to get too much into the lingo here, and what I'm trying to say, ironically, is that generalizations are okay sometimes, but generalizations should not be done all the time. Or, if you understand my phrasing, it all depends on the circumstances, including whether or not it depends on the circumstances, or it defines itself in its definition. You follow where I'm going with this? I'm probably saying this wrong, so I'm going to try one more time. Generalizing is breaking everything down and calling it all the same, which if you generalize everything is generalizing, but if you refuse to generalize everything, that actually also is by definition generalizing in the way it's being executed. So, point being, I think it is okay sometimes to say, for example, you know, video games are awesome. Even though if I was trying to be literally definitionally correct, I would say video games can be awesome. But I guess my ultimate point here is I don't like the idea of generalizing to such a degree that you could say, for example, all fantasy settings are the same. Sorry, Shadow, I'm not trying to pick on you, but that is a great example. These fantasy settings are indistinct. You know, I think that is generalizing to an excessive degree. But again, it is that excessism that is the problem.
I am the spirit of Eleni Zenobia, once consort and...
Advisor to Archon Valerius, blah blah, fall of the house. Yes, yes, we've been through that.
Finn, greetings.
That's a good question, True APM. And I actually don't have an answer on that one, only theories.
Oh yes, you were here, weren't you? With Jowen.
And now I
Some
stab
of the
people.
apprentices now use his name to describe dangerous schemes with little chance of success. Technically a misnomer, since he made it out of the tower alive. Oh, right. Back to the statue.
Exactly, Shadow. Three of the most distinct fantasy settings I could think of look the same to you.
Broken Illuvian lies. Can it still be used to find the others?
Scry, the broken...
That is correct, Infinity.
Will be your key. Yes. The lights of Arlathan will illuminate...
She says it differently. Huh.
The Archons possessed them, but they were misused, befouled, and lost, like so much the Imperium touched. Some were saved, carried by fugitives from the Elven city. Their sorrow awoke the stone, and her children sheltered them. They found a sanctuary in the deep halls of Cad Halash, now known as Kadash. There the lights of Arlathan lie, shielded from unworthy eyes.
So you know of it? Convenient.
Goodbye, Finn. We will not speak again.
No, that's not ominous or anything.
What's that supposed to mean?
Anyone... I'm curious, because I actually don't remember off the top of my head. Does anyone know if we know what happened to Finn after this? Because to my knowledge, we don't. He just kind of fell off the face of the earth when we did whatever we do at the mirror at the end of this. Now, I admit I get kind of
Tell us what's going on.
The Alluvians are linked, all of them. If you have one, you can find the others, if they still exist. But the one you know of is broken and corrupted. So we need something else to amplify the magic.
The lights of
blood
Arthur.
magic.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Mraid. That makes a lot of sense. He'd be really good at that. And the whole time he's lecturing them on the proper usage of their quills and books. Admittedly, I tend to get defensive sometimes, because one of the things I hear most often from people who are stupid, making my statement clear, I am not calling you stupid, Shadow, but I do hear this argument from stupid people that, for example, StarCraft is just Warhammer 40k. Babylon 5 is just Deep Space Nine, and Deep Space Nine is just Babylon 5. Warcraft is just Warhammer, regular. What was the other big example? There is a few that I hear pretty often, and it really gets on my nerves, in all honesty. So admittedly, every now and again when I hear, oh, well, there's no difference between A and B, I just look at that and it's like, no. So I will confess to having an emotional stake, such as it is. Damn it, Zeiss, no men!
Ready to go when you are.
One of the things I like about Witch Hunt is, at least for several interpretations of the Warden,
Does your name mean anything?
these events actually make sense. The idea that the Warden would go through all this effort and difficulty and aggravation, basically for only for the purposes of trying to hunt down Morrigan, is something that strikes me as very in character for several interpretations of the Warden. For example, to put one example, my Warden is sufficiently motivated to try and find her because, not just because she has his child, but because the two of them actually had a genuine relationship, a genuine caring for another, and he actually cares about her. And so he actually wants to go through all this effort to find her, for her own sake. Mraid, actually, yes, in all honesty, Zagmus's personality, as with all of the members of the original being, is reflective of a bit of my own personality. Don't think I've actually talked about that all that extensively. To summarize, the idea here is that it's back when I first wrote all these original characters, it was easier to write a piece of myself, and then they just kind of grew as characters from that point on once I got better as a writer. I'm pretty sure I have the ring on. I'll make sure. Anyways, but the point is, Zagmus has the sliver of my personality that is the person who wants to interfere with things. He actively is trying to change the way things are working, and he has his own form of wisdom and knowledge and the way things can and should work out. But ultimately, he is a very proactive character. He also thinks in the opposite direction of Saruman, which is really well described in the Hobbit movie, actually. One of my favorite scenes of the Hobbit movies, actually. But anyways, I digress.
Thing in Elven.
Blessed creators, why does everyone ask that of people from other cultures?
Oh, I didn't mean...
What about you? Are you named after an honorable fish's appendage?
Well, Florian Phineas Horatio Aldebrand Esquire was a bit of a mouthful. And I was tired of the other apprentices calling me Flora.
Poor Finn. I don't think you are, Shadow. Good, I do still have Morrigan's ring on. Fun fact, you guys know I'm a role player. I am actually a role player to the extent where I will do something harder or worse, stat-wise, for the sake of role-playing. When I did my canon playthrough, on Nightmare difficulty, I want to stress, I kept that ring on the entire time. Even though it's a crap ring. I mean, look at this thing. It's +2 willpower, but I never took that ring off. And I did that because it really emphasizes a significant aspect of Zagmus's personality and why it was so important to him here.
It's hard to breathe with all this stone around me. I hope this is all in my head. Wait, why did we stop? Is this Kadash Tike? Right, so I've been going through my old notes. If the elves concealed the relics with magic, only the blood of their kin will reveal them. Ariane, we need your blood.
Excuse me?
Just a few drops, that's it.
I like that reason, Raid. That's a good one. I like that.
Blood doesn't power the spell, it's just a component. It's certainly a gray area, so let's just keep this between the three of us, shall we? Four of us. You share the same blood as the Alathan elves, so you're the only one this enchantment might recognize.
Fine. Just because hearing that gets me all tingly. A few...
I like how she's at least honest about it.
My spell will reveal vortices of magic. Standing in them should allow us to see the energy being drawn to the relics, which will lead us to them.
Okay. He doesn't have a helmet. Why does he not have a helmet? Is this it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, Toke of the Oblivious.
Once we reach the influence of the lights of Alathan, Ariane's blood will...
See you around, Mugwump.
We have to be close.
This is Witch Hunt, Venters. The very end of Dragon Age Origins, basically. So, when to talk about it? I think we'll save it for the next video. Yeah, I think that's what we will do. We will not talk about things. Nobody comes here to listen to me talk. Alright, Shadow, here are terms of surrender. You must acknowledge that Azeroth is awesome, and the Elder Scrolls is awesome, and Thedas is awesome. Those are our terms. Do you submit? I'm kidding if I'm not being obvious enough with my sarcasm. Wowzers. No response from Twitch yet, by the way, about my partnership application, in case anyone was wondering.
Can you follow the path? I always thought dwarves must be dull without magic, but this place is amazing.
No! Damn it, Shadow! This means war! That is correct, Baronessa. You do not, Deutsch. Nobody likes my voice. Especially not me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say something about Witch Hunt here. Witch Hunt was rushed. There's no denying this. This is something we know. Several things that were being done by the Bioware team at the time. Was it Dallas? Were rushed at this point in history. But one of the things that is worth noting is it was rushed, and it's short, but they did everything in their power to shove nothing but content into it. But what I mean by this is, I actually remember Witch Hunt very fondly because there is absolutely no padding in it. You follow where I'm going with this? Too many times they have things where it's like, you have to go, you have to go backtrack, or you have to fight this guy who has way too much health, or you have a scene which has pointless exposition. And I stress the word pointless, trying to pad out the runtime. Instead, Witch Hunt is pretty much 100% cohesive content. There's lots of dialogue, there's lots of character growth, there's lots of exploration of the setting, and then it has an amazing payoff at the end. So, overall, despite being rushed, they did a damn good job with this. And well, let's just say that that'll be relevant as soon as I start my next stream here in a moment. I will be closing down the stream and restarting it just so it re-announces that I'm in Dragon Age 2, but I'm not going to go away for any longer than like a minute or two. I do need a quick bio, but that's all. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh, wait, no. There we go. Hello, Light of Arthur, or Aelakar, or whatever.
Lanterns. I didn't realize the statue was capable of being literal.
No, I'm not, True APM. I am being, unfortunately, quite honest. I actually genuinely do not like the sound of my own voice. It makes it really hard sometimes, because everything I do involves my voice. I mean, you should have seen back when I was voice acting a lot more often, and I'd have to do 20 takes until finally the people would be like, okay, look, it's good, shut up about it. And I'd be like, you know? Just because it bothered me, you know? I'm sure I'm not the only one in that boat, am I not? Of course, there's the literal fact that my voice sounds differently because it's coming from my own skull. But you get the idea. Yes, Evans. Or more accurately, I'll be importing my canon playthrough into Dragon Age 2, yes. Really, Baronessa? Go on, continue your discussion.
Do you see this splotch here on my robe? That's mud. There's no mud in the tower. I miss being cozy and dry.
I like Finn's perspective on the mage problem because he's a sign that we almost never get. Or a perspective we never get. So many of the mages either admit that the Templar control of them is acceptable, but nevertheless is something that is a negative, it's just something they have to accept, or it's something that they actively fight against, or it's something that they dislike, but they never have the courage to do something. It's always a negative perspective on their cloistering. Finn is probably one of the very own characters who actually, damn it, Deutsch, who actually, it genuinely likes the idea of being able to basically sit in his own private library and live the rest of his life there. And I like that. I like that we get that perspective on something. It's so rare to see that in this setting, or indeed in fiction in general, someone who actually wants that. But actually, if you pay attention, that's very indicative of one of the other themes of Dragon Age I've mentioned several times before. Remember my whole discussion about the Darkspawn? About how many people would want to have that control over their lives? Finn is a very average, ordinary, down-to-earth perspective of that mentality. Yeah, Dragon Age 2 did not import properly, but then again, most of that is, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. Honestly, Axkek, that is a good question. It's unfortunate because it would actually be more realistic if he did break down. Hang on, I gotta type for a moment. Okay, sorry. A friend of mine is asking about Kingdom Hearts, Shadow.
Masonry. Look at the craftsmanship on...
Finn!
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, it could be that... See, the thing that's interesting about Finn, I personally don't think he's an example of someone who's brainwashed, like the Darkspan example I mentioned earlier. I think Finn is a better example of someone who, just through natural, ordinary, normal human nature, forgive me for calling it such a thing, just wants his everyday life, just wants to get through the day. There's nothing wrong with that perspective, necessarily. And it's probably one of the most understandable perspectives, because how many people in real life just want to get through the everyday? Just want to manage to make it so that they can get to tomorrow, you know?
Let's see.
Yeah, by the way, 2.5. Hoi!
Two lanterns.
She magically shaves Axcac. And if you think I'm joking, I don't know that literally, but we do know that there is magic to deal with, I think we'll use the word cosmetics here, because that's the most neutral way I can put it.
Oh! Kal Shirak destroyed. That was disappointing.
Pay attention to where they're going.
Strange to think of the dwarves giving shelter, in this darkness, to the elves who fled Arlathan.
Hang on a sec. Sorry, more Kingdom Hearts questions here, which I'm answering. That's my friend Gary, by the way, for those of you who were present during those streams.
So you've never been outdoors? Till now?
I have been. I just don't care much for it. We had to do stretching exercises. I got sweaty. There was dirt. During my apprenticeship, they thought getting fresh air and exercise at least once a week would do us good.
Fresh air and sunlight is good for you.
You know what fills fresh air in the summer? Mosquitoes. Hungry for sweet, untested mage flesh.
Well, when you put it that way...
Luckily, it didn't last long. One day, an apprentice made a break for it. Jumped off the dock and started swimming for the shore. The Templars couldn't jump in after him. Not with the armor on. Finally found him a week later. We stopped having to go out after that.
That's Anders, by the way.
Mage Anders never stopped trying to escape, though. Haven't heard from him since his last attempt.
There we go. Sora is dumber, because Anders isn't dumb. Vengeance, well, he's retarded. But we'll discuss that later on. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, at this point in time, Anders is gone, really. Admittedly, that is just my interpretation of things. So it is entirely possible that I am super incorrect. You know, I like how Shadow and Rasko are arguing about what actually comes down to a difference in definitions, and nothing more.
Over here, perhaps. There it is.
Instead of killing them.
I tend to agree. This is wasteful. Wait, seriously? There's still more? Well, Vengeance himself is kind of retarded. Think about it, but I agree it was a good idea, and for the reasons I've already kind of mentioned, but we'll touch on again in the future. Favorite type of character? Oh, for me to roleplay as.
Stars, and they're showing us the way.
No, I don't, Dylan.
This is like playing hide and seek, isn't it?
Here it comes.
Honestly, the kind of character I find most enjoyable to roleplay as is what I describe as lawful evil.
Complicated. Well, that's enough. We still need the shard of the Eluvian, though. Let's head to the Elven Ruins when you're ready.
Ahem. What I define as lawful evil. In other words, someone who is willing to do bad things as necessary in order to accomplish what they believe is correct. The most kind of character I most like to be is the Mario, but that's different. One day, Olivia. And by one day I mean when they remake them and make them actually good. I'm messing. So apparently Gary just bought 1.5. Oops.
Very well.
And we'll be playing through that. He was asking my advice on several Kingdom Hearts related things. Hey, Fulgen. He apparently just hit Wonderland in Kingdom Hearts 1.
If you hate the outside so much, why come with us?
Couldn't pass up a chance to learn more about the ancient elves and the mirrors. Besides, the company is good.
Thanks.
I met the dog.
As you say.
Alright. To the elves. Instantly teleport.
That ring. You play with it often.
Hardest kind of character to play? Any form of cruelty is something I literally cannot do, so I actually can't do that, roleplay that kind of a character. I haven't been able to for years and years and years.
A ring is a significant gift. In human cultures, does that not mean... You put yourself in such danger just to find her. What will you do when you reach her? We'll find her. You have my word. The ancient Eluvian will be our key.
Unfortunately, I have, Fulgen. And the way I phrased that probably answers your second question.
Your name is Florian Phineas...
Horatio Aldebrandt, Esquire. Can't forget the Esquire. Father insisted.
Did your parents hate you?
No, they adore me. In fact, I'm sure my name is a result of overwhelming love replacing good sense.
I don't know, a year feels like a long time to me. But then again, I am weird. But yeah, I do agree. It is kind of strange to use that as the terminology rather than a bit ago or a while ago. I don't know, I just think the game is messed up and kind of gross. I don't think it's particularly dark or foreboding, personally. I think that would be true, Isaac, especially since it made an awesome book. Was it 3 or 4 years? I actually don't know how far after it was.
Very sick before they died.
After,
You...
don't think it's contagious, do you?
And yeah, I like both DLC, both the characters in a Witch Hunt. Personally. So, I don't have much to talk about until we get to the actual significant point. So I got a question for you. If you could replace your real-life voice with a fictional voice, and there's a definition here, and I'll define it in a second, which would you do and why? Now, here's the point. And when I see a real-life voice, I mean, every day, you know, you can't turn it off or on. You will always sound like that, even if you're at McDonald's ordering a hamburger, right? But in addition to that, what I mean by the fictional voice is a voice that is not standard. You can't just pick some random actor or someone else that is, you know, of such a nature. You have to actually pick a voice that is altered or modified in some way. To use two examples of what I mean, I have given you my answer to the two voices I would use as my answer, both of which are modified voices: the Overmind and Sovereign. And yes, those are my answers, legitimately. Even knowing I would have to do that in everyday life, I would still willingly do so. So what would you pick, and why?
For the Daleks!
Vader? I like that. Morgan Freeman. I really hope you're good at sign language. The Master? Oh, that would be interesting. The voice would qualify. Yes, Thane's voice does count. Zaid's arguably does not. The Architect. Interesting. Just normal enough to not really raise an eyebrow most of the time, but just different enough to be interesting. With regards to the Architect choice. Oh, whoops. Yeah, okay, so... key...
Very well.
Thane does have a pretty awesome voice. Dalek. I'm not going to do it because I have to actually yell to do a Dalek voice, but I can do a pretty damn good Dalek voice.
I shall do it.
I'm told it's terrifying. Yeah, Sovereign's voice is a particular brand of beautiful. Very particular brand. By the way, Daedalus Origin here.
This is one of the Illuvians. It's magnificent. And broken. Mostly broken. With the shard and the lights of Arlathan, we should be able to scry for an unbroken mirror. This looks like a suitable place to do the ritual. We can start whenever you're ready. Let's hope this works.
By the way, the veil is incredibly thin here. We're not sure if they put the Illuvion here because the veil was thin, or the Illuvion and the nature of what it is made the veil very thin. What, Raskor? Sorry, in all honesty, I've kind of been blanking out your conversation. I do that whenever my viewers are conversing about something that doesn't involve me. As kind of a,
Am I bleeding? Oh, look, a rip in my robe.
Finn?
What happened to Ariane? Give us your blood. Who cares if it hurts?
It's my blood. That's different.
Anyways, it's a respect thing. A respect for your privacy. Nice, Fenrir.
I've pinpointed another Illuvian. It's in the Dragonbone wastes. The Tevintus probably moved it there to see if the ancient Dragonbones could enhance the Illuvian's power. It might be hidden, or only appear to those who know its location.
Well, yes, Raskor. You are arguing about a definition. But I digress.
Shall we?
Oh good, there's an exit. Whew.
Dog?
Gotcha, Raskor. Oh, hang on, they were
Call
talking.
that which covers a tree.
Get it? See you around, Lord. Scion had an awesome voice, admittedly. Very broken.
We're here. Keep your eyes open for dragons. And mirrors.
Dragons and mirrors. I also like Boss Nass. But then again, I am a fan of Brian Blessed, so... Hey look, dragon cultists. What a surprising thing to see people trying to have some kind of religious worship of a creature that happens to be stronger than them.
I've never met a dragon worshipper before. Not much for small talk, are they?
Why would anyone worship a dragon?
Dragons are big, powerful, and they breathe fire! Some people are easily impressed.
Gordon's alive. Davy Jones? Oh, that's a tempting one. Even though it's not that variant. But Bill Nye, man. I mean, come on. Oh, I hate you, Crispy. It's okay. I'll just settle with having nothing to eat. I'm kidding. I already ate. Briefly. Yeah, you always have to go. Brian! I'm not going to actually shout. I don't want to kill everyone's ears. Brian, they did Znehum? Whether or not they do or not is a little more debatable, but they certainly did. Once upon a time. You got it, XCAC. Definitely a thing that's happening. Alright, where is that idiot's corpse? So we can go res him. Seriously. There you are. Yeah, Tevinter has the Dark Chantry, or the Father's Chantry, or the Black Chantry, or whatever you want to actually call it. That would be awesome, true APM. Obviously, since I kind of picked it. No, I can do my own Kefka voice quite nicely, thank you, Mega Mike. I don't need someone else's. What video game story do I think would be most successful and effectively be able to translate directly into a movie? Super Mario Brothers! No, I am kidding. I don't know. It has never happened. We have never had a truly great video game movie, ever. Some would argue we've never had a good video game movie. You know what would be awesome if we had a Street Fighter movie? Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Which Zeratul inventors? Because there's two voices. I mean, obviously it's one Zeratul, but you know what I mean. Different voice actor. That's actually a tough one. But I cannot think... I'm actually having trouble thinking of one. Because someone asked me a question, Lava, and I can't think of an answer. I'm just going to default. The answer is none. Can't come up with one. Okay, Ventures.
Is that...
Hello.
Of our Terrell? It can't be. They're only legends. It is said they were rock and tree, wind and rain, given form and breath by the elven gods to protect their people.
Like I said, there's a lot of variance in opinion because that's what opinion means.
To protect their people?
But,
why does it look like it's going to eat you?
Crispin, that is the very definition of it technically. So, yeah, anyways. Yeah, I like how we don't actually fight a dragon, but I do agree the Veritel looks really awesome. Hey, dragons! So... I'm not sure Kingdom Hearts... Well, okay, Kingdom Hearts with Pixar-style animation I could see working. Perhaps ironically. I'm not sure if I'd call myself a nostalgia nerd, but I do remember that voice ofteness. So, yeah, actually, I was going to talk about the Veritel really quickly. I know, talking about Dragon Age while playing it, right? Varterel, excuse me. I've always had the theory that this is basically the equivalent of a golem in terms of overall construction, design, etc., just made by the old elves, the Artelathon Yanarimanans. In other words, the idea that they took essences of natural spirits, those neutral ones I mentioned before, and literally forged them together into a construct which they designed, which created this beautiful little wonder. It would also be very indicative of the kind of society that they had, based on what tiny tidbits we do know about it. In other words, that these things basically are there to guard and do their dirty work for them so that they don't have to. And, yeah, they, yeah. Oh, ow, ow. Ow. By the way, for the reference, I agree with Raskor, not Shadow, in the debate you two are having. Like, I cannot possibly disagree with Shadow more. But again, the point is, it's a matter of definitions. These things do kind of look similar to Arachnite, too. Now let's see if Shadow will attack me. Bring it! I'm ready! I'm just kidding. So now we're about to do the scene that I remember most from Witch Hunt. That probably shouldn't surprise anyone because it's probably the scene most people remember most from Witch Hunt. Does this room look familiar? I'll give you a hint. This is where we fought the Mother back in Awakening. It's kind of ironic, too, that, and they did this on purpose, this wasn't just reuse of assets. They deliberately made this the spot to emphasize that, well, a lot of things. The Mother picked this spot specifically to go ahead and nest herself, but because of the fact that she wanted to be a source of such obvious power and veil discrepancy, it is also entirely likely that this place was picked in order to add significance to the way this journey works, the Warden's journey. Also keeping in mind that, as was mentioned by the developers, the original plan, which, again, I vehemently disagree with, was that the Warden's story ends here. Which doesn't even begin to make sense to me, because this is, in my opinion, the beginning of the Warden's story, right here, from my perspective of things. Really, think about it. I mean, really think about it. At least the way I've portrayed my Warden. The Warden, you know, grows and becomes strong and becomes this great warrior, and then through added responsibility and things that have to be placed upon him, he grows to be a great leader, and then he comes here and he takes his first step. All of that to me screams prologue, the beginning. But that is, of course, just my perspective. Now, the other reason I love this scene so much is because this is just a metric ton of awesome dialogue between Morrigan and, well, Zagmus. I'll go ahead and pick the options that I picked canonically for anybody who's curious, because that's kind of what we're doing, my canon playthrough, mostly. Yeah, seriously, Fenrir. So there's Morrigan. Or Aerith, as some would call her.
And it's glowing. We should...
Worthy note of point. Morrigan was waiting for us.
I think she's expecting you.
Yep. She could
About our
have.
book.
She could have gone through already. But she deliberately waited here for us.
No further, please. One more step and I leave. For good this time.
Hello to you too, Morrigan.
I assume you know what this is. I have gone to great lengths to find and activate this portal. Give me reason and I use it, and you will not be able to follow.
By the way, it doesn't make sense to me, Venters. You're asking the wrong person. The Illuvians are portals? To where?
To another place. Beyond this world and beyond the Fade. But this portal can only be used once more. Achieving even this much was difficult. I remained because I sensed your approach. You kept the ring. Tell me, why did you come?
I couldn't let it end like that.
And you once argued with me that love is not weakness. I will never understand you, and you will never understand me.
I won't understand unless you help me to.
I would not even know where to begin explaining.
What is your plan? I want to know.
My plan is to leave and prepare the child for what is to come. Such preparation requires time and power. I must have both if I am to be successful. More than this, I dare not say, even to you.
Tell me where the child is.
He is safe and beyond your reach. All you need to know is that the child is an innocent. He knows nothing of the destiny that lies before him.
That's not good enough.
Because the child is yours. I understand. I will not share my plan with you. I dare not. If your trust is insufficient, then your anger will have to do.
Why did you betray me?
I did not betray you. I left, just as I said I would.
You left me no choice.
And what choice did I have? How was I to know that the battle with the Archdemon would come so soon? And when it did, I came to you. I needed you, yes, but I also did not want to see you die. And here you stand, alive. So do not speak to me of betrayal.
No more questions.
Then allow me to provide you a warning. 'Tis Flemeth you should beware of, not me. Hunt her if you hunt anyone.
Why should I?
I thought I knew what Flemeth planned. I thought what she craved was immortality, and yet I was wrong. So very wrong. She is no blood mage, no abomination. She is not even truly human.
She's a dragon.
The ritual was but a means to an end, a herald for what is to come.
Why? What's going to happen?
Change is coming to the world. Many fear change and will fight it with every fiber of their being. But sometimes, change is what they need most. Sometimes, change is what sets them free.
And is that what you want, Morrigan? To be free?
What I want is unimportant now. I cannot tarry longer. The time has come for me to go.
Take me with you.
You cannot know what you ask. 'Twould be better if you stayed. For you. For us both.
I want to be with you. No matter what.
Then come, my love. We will face the future together.
Through the looking glass. And clearly that's just the end of the Warden's story, right? I mean, that's the finishing point. Well play, I don't think so, no. Personally. But of course, we'll find out. I don't think Claudia Black is the only reason that Morrigan is awesome. I do, however, think it's incredible, in addition to Claudia Black's portrayal, because that helps add a great deal of nuance and subtlety to her personality. But the writing is amazing, so that's a nice little thing, too. What is Morrigan's long game? We don't know. Still don't know. We will find out in about a week and a half. The end! I mean, right? I mean, there's no possible way that story could ever continue, right? I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream for a bit, and I think you know what's coming next, so I'll see you in a moment.